Have you ever wondered how the shadowy world of cartels came into existence? Our tale begins in the late 19th century, a time when the world was rapidly industrializing and nations were in the throes of social and economic upheaval. In the midst of this turmoil, two countries, Colombia and Mexico, would become the birthplace of an insidious new form of organized crime, the cartel. But what social and economic factors led to their formation? It's a question that plunges us into an era marked by poverty, political instability, and a growing divide between the rich and the poor. Many were left with few opportunities for economic advancement, creating a fertile ground for illicit activities to thrive. In Colombia, the roots of the cartels can be traced back to the smuggling trade. As the demand for contraband goods grew, so did the networks of smugglers. These networks eventually consolidated their power, forming the first cartels. Their operations extended beyond smuggling, branching out into other illegal activities such as drug trafficking and kidnapping. Meanwhile, in Mexico, the birth of cartels was closely linked to prohibition. When the United States introduced the alcohol prohibition in the early 20th century, it unintentionally created a lucrative black market for bootleggers across the border. Mexican gangs quickly capitalized on this opportunity, smuggling alcohol into the U.S. and making a hefty profit. Over time, these gangs evolved into powerful criminal syndicates, laying the groundwork for the Mexican cartels we know today. So, while the formation of cartels can be attributed to a variety of factors, it's clear that economic desperation and the allure of illicit profits played a significant role. But what started as localized criminal networks soon grew into something much larger and more dangerous. As these organizations gained power, they began to exert their influence over local politics and economies, entrenching themselves within the fabric of society. Thus, the seeds of the cartel were sown, setting the stage for a complex and dangerous underworld. As the 20th century dawned, the cartels began to rise, fueled by the growing demand for illegal substances. In the early years of the 20th century, the cartels were little more than organized crime syndicates operating in the shadows. But as the demand for illicit substances grew, so did their power and influence. This was a time of rapid societal change, and the cartels were quick to exploit the opportunities that presented themselves. One of the key drivers of the cartel's growth was the rise of drug trafficking. As substances like opium, cocaine, and later marijuana and heroin were outlawed, a black market sprang up to meet the demand. The cartels were perfectly positioned to dominate this market, with their existing networks of smugglers and street-level dealers. The World Wars also played a significant role in the rise of the cartels. During the First and Second World Wars, the demand for drugs skyrocketed, as soldiers sought relief from the horrors of battle and civilians coped with the stresses of life on the home front. The cartels seized the opportunity, ramping up production and distribution to meet this surge in demand. But perhaps the most significant factor in the rise of the cartels was the role of key figures who expanded their influence. Men like Al Capone in the United States and later, Pablo Escobar in Colombia, used their charisma and ruthlessness to build vast criminal empires. They became folk heroes in their communities, even as they committed horrific acts of violence. These figures were more than just criminals. They were savvy businessmen who understood how to manipulate public opinion and exploit the corruption and weakness of the systems they operated within. They built alliances, brokered deals, and waged wars, all in the name of expanding their power and wealth. By the mid-20th century, the cartels had evolved from scrappy criminal gangs into sophisticated transnational organizations. Their influence reached into every corner of society, from the streets of inner cities to the halls of government. The cartels had now become a force to reckon with, casting a dark shadow across nations. The cartels were not just organizations, they were empires ruled by notorious figures. From the lush jungles of Colombia to the arid deserts of Mexico, these empires thrived under the iron fists of their leaders. Two such figures, Pablo Escobar and El Chapo, stand out as prime examples of the power and influence these cartels wielded. Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria, known as the King of Cocaine, rose to power in the late 70s when he founded the Medellin cartel. His operations were vast, producing and distributing over 80% of the cocaine smuggled into the United States. Escobar's reign was marked by relentless ambition and ruthless control. He built a Robin Hood-like persona, investing in the poor communities of Medellin. But beneath this facade, he was a man feared by many, capable of unimaginable violence. Across the border, in the rugged terrains of Mexico, another kingpin was making his mark: Joaquin Archibaldo Guzman Loera, better known as El Chapo. As the leader of the Sinaloa cartel, El Chapo oversaw an empire that spanned continents. His operations went beyond cocaine, involving marijuana, heroin, and methamphetamines. El Chapo's reign was marked by intricate tunnels, daring prison escapes, and an extensive network of corruption that infiltrated the highest levels of the Mexican government. These two figures, each in their unique way, shaped the societies they operated within. Escobar's reign resulted in a wave of violence in Colombia that left thousands dead. El Chapo's rule fueled the ongoing drug war in Mexico, causing devastation and civil unrest. In the end, both kings fell: Escobar in a rooftop shootout in 1993, and El Chapo through extradition to the United States in 2017. But their legacies live on, their stories a grim reminder of the power and reach of the cartels. These infamous figures left an indelible mark on the history of the cartels, their reigns serving as a testament to the power and reach of these illicit organizations. With power comes conflict, and the cartels were no exception. As the cartels grew in strength and influence, rivalries inevitably developed, sparking a series of violent confrontations known as the cartel wars. These were not just minor skirmishes, but full-scale battles, often fought in broad daylight, causing shockwaves that reverberated far beyond the criminal underworld. The cartel wars were characterized by a brutal and ruthless struggle for control. Cartels vied for supremacy, eager to establish dominance and secure the most profitable drug trafficking routes. These conflicts were marked by horrific acts of violence, a chilling testament to the lengths these organizations would go to protect their interests. But it wasn't just rival cartels that these organizations had to contend with. Governments, both local and international, were becoming increasingly alarmed by the escalating violence and the growing power of the cartels. In response, they launched concerted efforts to dismantle these organizations, deploying military and law enforcement agencies in a bid to restore order and bring the cartel leaders to justice. However, the cartels proved to be a formidable adversary. They were well-armed, deeply entrenched, and had vast resources at their disposal. Despite the government's best efforts, the cartels proved remarkably resilient, often bouncing back stronger after each crackdown. The impact of these wars on society was profound. Communities were torn apart, caught in the crossfire of these brutal conflicts. Thousands of innocent lives were lost, and countless others were forever scarred by the violence. The cartel wars also had a destabilizing effect on the economy, as businesses were targeted and corruption seeped into every layer of society. The struggle against the cartels is a complex and ongoing battle. It's a battle that involves not just law enforcement and military, but also policymakers, social workers, and ordinary citizens who are determined to reclaim their communities from the grip of these powerful criminal organizations. The war against the cartels continues to this day, a grim reminder of the power and resilience of these illicit organizations. As we delve into the present state of the cartels in our next segment, we'll explore the ongoing efforts to combat their influence and the challenges that lie ahead. Despite the relentless efforts to dismantle them, the cartels continue to exist. But how, you may ask? The answer lies in their ability to adapt and evolve, to change with the times, and to find new ways to carry out their illicit activities. Today, the cartels are not the same entities they were in the past. They have become more sophisticated, more global, and more deeply entrenched in our societies. They have learned to exploit technology, to infiltrate legitimate businesses, and to corrupt institutions from the inside out. They have also learned to diversify their revenue streams, moving beyond drugs to involve themselves in human trafficking, illegal mining, and even cybercrime. In spite of these changes, the core activities of the cartels remain the same. They continue to traffic drugs, to extort businesses, and to engage in organized crime. They continue to wield immense power, to instill fear, and to challenge the rule of law. And they continue to generate enormous profits that allow them to buy influence, to fund their operations, and to resist attempts to dismantle them. The authorities, for their part, face an uphill battle. Each time they manage to take down a cartel, another seems to rise in its place. Each time they manage to arrest a cartel leader, another seems to step forward to take their place. And each time they manage to seize a shipment of drugs, countless more seem to slip through their grasp. The challenge is immense, but so too is the determination to meet it. Governments around the world are working together, sharing intelligence and coordinating their efforts. They are investing in technology, training their personnel, and strengthening their laws. And they are reaching out to their communities, seeking their support, and promoting their involvement. The history of the cartels is a complex tapestry of power, conflict, and resilience, a history that continues to unfold. And as it does, we must remain vigilant, we must continue to learn, and we must continue to fight. Because the history of the cartels is not just a story of the past, it's a story of our present, and potentially our future. Before we wrap up, we would like to take a moment to invite you to become a part of our community. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more content like this, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support not only encourages us to continue exploring complex topics like this one, but also helps us reach a wider audience. For those of you who are interested in more content related to crime and justice, we recommend checking out our sister channel, Criminal Justice Journey. There, you'll find in-depth analysis, expert interviews, and captivating stories from the world of crime and law enforcement. Lastly, we would like to express our gratitude for your time and attention. We know that the subject matter can be heavy, but we believe that understanding these issues is crucial for fostering a safer, more just world. So thank you for watching, and remember, knowledge is power. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and stay safe.